By the 10th day of the Great Freeze, people in Granite Hollow were running out of everything. Wood, strength, time. Men burned furniture to keep their fires alive. Chairs, tables, even parts of their own walls. Children slept in coats, when they slept at all. And still, the cold kept coming. It came through the floors, through the walls, through the air itself. A cold that did not pass. A cold that stayed. And by the 10th day, people were dying. Not far away, not in the mountains, at their own doors, within sight of fire, but without enough of it. But up on the ridge, above the village, there was a house that did not change. No roaring fire, no frantic smoke. Just stone walls, quietly radiating heat. Not from a fire, from something older. Something that had been placed there months before winter began. Inside that house, the air stayed steady, 58 degrees. Warm enough to breathe without pain. Warm enough for hands to move. Warm enough to live. And the girl who lived there was the same one the village had cast out 3 years earlier, because she burned wood in summer. Her name was Ingrid Halvarsdottir. She had arrived in Granite Hollow at 13, alone, an orphan from Norway. Her parents buried somewhere between the ocean and the land they never reached. She came with nothing. No family, no place, only a few words of English and habits no one understood. The church placed her where it could. One house, then another. Work for food, work for shelter. Always temporary, always watched. She's quiet, people said. Works hard, doesn't complain. But they always added one more word. Strange. Because Ingrid noticed things no one else paid attention to. She stood too long near fireplaces, not warming her hands, watching the stone. She pressed her palm against walls, as if she were listening through them. She asked questions that felt wrong. Why does the fire heat the air, she asked once, instead of the stone? Elias Turner laughed, because to him the answer was obvious. Because that's how heat works. We burn wood in winter. We stay warm in winter. That's all there is. But Ingrid didn't stop asking, because she remembered something else. Not clearly, not perfectly, but enough. Stone houses, thick walls. Stories her father had told her about fires that burned fast but warmed for days. About walls that held heat long after the flames were gone. She didn't have the words for it. Not yet. But she felt it. The idea that heat didn't have to be chased. It could be kept. At 15, she left the houses. Not by choice, but because no one wanted to keep her long. Too quiet. Too strange. Too many questions. She moved into an abandoned stone shed on the edge of the ridge, a place no one wanted. Cold, broken, useless. But to Ingrid, it had one thing the others did not. Stone. She began to rebuild it. Not like the others built. Not thin, not fast, but thick, heavy, slow. She studied the fireplace, then tore it apart, rebuilt it. Wrong to anyone watching. Different in ways no one could explain. And then, in the middle of August, when the sun burned hot over the hills, she lit a fire. Not for cooking, not for warmth, just to burn. Smoke rose from the ridge into a summer sky, and that was the moment the village decided she had lost her mind. The first person who did not laugh was an old man no one listened to anymore. His name was Mikkel Sorensen. He was 82. A stonemason once, before his hands stiffened and the village stopped asking for his work. He had built fireplaces for 50 years. Hundreds of them. All of them too small. Too thin. Too eager to let heat escape. He found Ingrid on a morning in late August. Smoke still rising. Heat still trapped inside stone no one believed could hold it. "You are not wasting wood," he said, standing in the doorway without knocking. Ingrid looked up, surprised. "You're trying to store it." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Mikkel stepped inside. His fingers, slow, careful, ran across the granite wall. He closed his eyes, not feeling the surface, feeling the heat beneath it. "You've seen it before," he said. "In Norway. In Finland. In houses people here forgot how to build." Ingrid nodded. "I don't know how it works," she said quietly. "I only know it feels wrong to let the heat leave." Mikkel smiled, not amused, relieved. "I've been waiting 30 years, he said, for someone to say that. He did not bring tools. He brought understanding. Each day he walked the mile from his cabin to the ridge. Slow steps, steady breath. And when he arrived, he did not build for her. He showed her how to think. Fire is fast, he said. It gives everything and keeps nothing. Stone is slow. It takes heat slowly, but it gives it back the same way. He drew in the dirt simple lines, paths, curves. This is not a fireplace, he said. It is a path for heat. He showed her how to build walls 3 feet thick, not because they needed strength, but because they needed time. Time to absorb, time to hold, time to release. He showed her how to carve channels inside the stone, hidden passages where hot air would travel before escaping. Not straight up, but across, down, back through the walls again. Every turn, another layer of heat left behind. Do not let the fire leave quickly, he said. Make it work before it goes. Ingrid rebuilt everything. Not once, again and again. She tore out what she had made when it wasn't right. She carried granite from the quarry ruins 2 miles away. 1 stone at a time, loaded onto a cart, dragged uphill, day after day. Her hands split, then hardened. Her shoulders burned, then strengthened. Every wall, thicker, heavier, more patient. The firebox grew, not for size, but for intensity. Short burns, hot burns, clean burns. 2 hours, not all day, because it wasn't about duration. It was about transfer. Heat from flame into stone. By September, the house had changed. Not warmer, not yet, but different. The walls held something, a presence, a memory of fire. And when Ingrid pressed her hand against the stone, she could feel it. Not surface heat, something deeper, something waiting. Mikkel watched her that evening. The fire had gone out. The air had cooled, but the walls were still warm. He nodded once. "You are doing it right," he said. "Better than most ever learn." Ingrid looked at the stone, then back at him. "Will it last?" she asked. Mikkel didn't answer immediately. He placed his hand flat against the wall, closed his eyes again, then said quietly, "If you keep feeding it in summer, it will remember in winter." By the 3rd week of burning, people began to notice. Not the walls, not the structure, just one thing. Smoke. Smoke, rising from the ridge in the middle of summer, when no one else was burning anything. At first, it was curiosity. A glance, a comment at the well. Still burning up there. Must be cooking all day. But then, it became something else. Because wood was not just wood. It was survival. Every log cut in summer was meant for winter. Every stack measured, counted, protected. And up on the ridge, a girl they barely trusted was feeding it to fire under a blazing sun. Elias Turner came on the 4th day. He did not come alone. 2 men from the council walked behind him, slow, deliberate, like men already certain of what they would find. They stopped outside the house, watched the chimney, watched the smoke rise into heat that did not need it. Then Elias stepped forward. "What are you doing?" His voice was not loud. It didn't need to be. Ingrid stepped outside, calm, hands marked with dust and ash. "I'm heating the stone." The men exchanged a look. Not confusion, dismissal. "There is no need for heat," Elias said. "It's August. The fields are burning. People are fainting in the sun." Ingrid nodded. "There's no need now, but there will be in January. And the stone will still be warm because I heat it today." That was the moment they stopped listening. Because to them, this was not an idea. It was waste. Visible. Immediate. Unforgivable. "That wood," Elias said, "comes from the common lot. It belongs to the village. It is not yours to experiment with." "I cut my own wood," Ingrid said quietly. "Deadfall, branches, anything I can carry." Elias didn't respond, because it didn't matter. The smoke was enough. The difference was enough. "You'll receive no more wood," he said. "Not this winter, not next. Nothing. And you will not use the common fire." A smaller pause. Colder. "You will not come to the church. You will not take from what others have saved. You've proven you don't understand its value." It wasn't anger. It was judgment. Final. Public. Not arguing, not pleading, just listening. Because somewhere, beneath the words, she understood something they didn't. They were counting wood. She was counting heat. "Do what you need to do," she said. "I will do the same." They left her there, smoke still rising, sun still high, stone still warming. The next days were quieter, but not kinder. People stopped speaking when she passed. Voices lowered, eyes turned away, or stayed too long. Children were told not to go near the ridge. She wastes what we need, they said. She doesn't understand. She'll learn in winter. Ingrid kept working, further, harder, because now there was no safety net, no shared wood, no second chance. Every log she burned had to matter. She walked farther into the forest, carried heavier loads, dried what she gathered, burned it, fast, hot, clean, just as Mikkel had taught her. And every day the walls grew warmer. Not outside, inside, where no one could see. One evening, as the sun dropped low, Mikkel stood beside her in silence, watching the last of the fire fade. "You're in the hard part now," he said. "First they laugh, then they cut you off. After that," he looked at the stone wall, still holding heat, still quiet, still patient. "They come." The winter did not arrive all at once. It pressed in, day by day, degree by degree. First, the rain froze, not gently, not softly, but hard, locking the ground under a skin of glass. Then the temperature dropped, sharp, unforgiving. The kind of cold that doesn't pass through, but settles and stays. By January, the wind came from the north, from Canada, 60 miles an hour, driving snow sideways through every weakness a house could have. At first, the fires held. Stoves burned hot. Chimneys roared. Wood piles shrank, but people believed they had enough. Then the first week ended, and the wood was already low. The second week, everything began to fail. Thin walls lost heat faster than fires could replace it. Floors leaked cold from beneath. Drafts cut through rooms like knives. People fed their stoves hour after hour, and still the cold stayed. They burned more, and more, and more. But the fire never stayed. It rose. It vanished. It left. By the 10th day, wood was gone. Not low, gone. Chairs went next. Tables. Fence posts. Anything dry enough to catch. Anything that would burn, even briefly. But the cold was stronger than all of it. Children were the first, too small to hold their heat, too weak to fight what seeped through every surface. Then the old, then the sick, then anyone whose house failed even a little. By the 10th day, People were dying in Granite Hollow. And all the while, on the ridge, there was almost no smoke. Just a thin line, rising slowly into a sky that gave nothing back. Inside Ingrid's house, there was no panic, no rushing, no desperate feeding of flame. The fire burned once, brief, hot. Then it went out, and the walls did the rest. Granite, 3 feet thick, filled with heat from months before. From August, from September, from days when no one else had thought about winter at all. Now it returned, slowly, evenly, unstoppable. 58 degrees, unchanging, while outside the world broke. No drafts, no sudden drops, no freezing floors, just warmth radiating from every wall, from beneath the bed, from the stone itself. Ingrid did not fight the cold. She did not chase it. She had already answered it months ago. Down in the village, Elias Turner stood in a house that was losing. The fire was burning. The wood was gone. The walls were cold. And for the first time, he understood something he had refused to see. Heat was not the problem. Keeping it was. And somewhere above him, on the ridge, the girl he had cast out was still warm. They came on the 11th day. Not all at once, not as a crowd, but in small groups, moving slowly through snow that reached their knees. Elias Turner walked in front, not because he was strongest, but because he had been the one who told her to leave. Behind him, families, children wrapped in blankets, mothers holding hands that no longer felt warm, men, silent, because there was nothing left to say. They climbed the ridge they had told themselves they would never walk, toward a house they had called waste, toward a girl they had called wrong. When they reached the door, no one knocked, not at first, because something stopped them. The air. Even outside, near the stone, it felt different, less sharp, less cruel. Elias lifted his hand, hesitated, then knocked. The door opened, and the warmth met them. Not a blast, not a rush, but steady, deep, like stepping into something that had been waiting. Ingrid stood there, calm as she had always been. The same worn dress, the same quiet eyes, as if nothing had changed. But everything had. "Please," Elias said, his voice breaking on a word he had never needed before. "We have nowhere else." Ingrid looked at him, at the man who had cut her off, at the families who had turned away, at the children too cold to even cry. "Come in," she said. "There's room." They stepped inside slowly, and then they stopped, because the warmth was everywhere. Not from the fire. The fire was small, low, almost resting. But the walls were alive with heat, radiating, holding, giving. They placed their hands against the granite, pulled them back as if they had touched something impossible. Children sank to the floor, color returning to faces that had lost it days before. Mothers closed their eyes, not in fear, but in relief. Men stood in silence because there was nothing left to explain. More came that day, the next, and the next. 11 families, 39 people, in a house built for one. They slept against the walls, not close to the fire, close to the stone, because that was where the warmth lived. No one spoke about summer, not at first, not about the smoke, not about the wood, not about the girl they had judged, because now they understood. Spring came slowly, as it always does after a winter that takes too much. The snow melted. The wind softened. The village, what was left of it, began again. Elias stood outside the house one morning, waiting. Not as an elder, not as a leader, just a man who had been wrong. When Ingrid stepped outside, he lowered his eyes. "I called you wasteful," he said. "I thought you didn't understand. I nearly let people die because I refused to listen." Ingrid didn't answer immediately. She looked at the stone, at the walls that had held everything she gave them. "Mikkel taught me," she said. "He showed me how stone works, how it takes slowly and gives slowly. I didn't do anything special. I just didn't let the heat go." Years passed. Houses changed. Walls grew thicker. Fireplaces grew deeper. People learned slowly to keep what they once wasted. And on the ridge, the stone house still stands, quiet, unmoving, holding every fire it was ever given. Because stone is patient. It remembers, even when people don't. And sometimes survival is nothing more than learning what not to let go.